What's the most famous love story ever told?
Oh my gosh. I guess what would you say, Romeo and Juliet?
If the most famous love story has a man and a woman dying for each other, why are love stories usually framed where the man sacrifices himself for the woman?
Because he should. All men should sacrifice themselves.
What's the reason behind that? Where does that come from?
Why? Because men are destructive to society and women should reign.
I think it kind of goes back to biblical times where the man should be the head of the household. They should make the sacrifices. The women just follow and be submissive, and the man leads.
I think that's kind of just the way that society's gone, where men are the ones who are supposed to fall on the sword. Man's hands are dirty so that women's can be clean.
Because that's how it should be. I mean, if you're a provider, then you should be willing to lay your life down for your woman.
I don't have a problem being in the role as a man and like sacrificing for a woman that cares about me. But really, the way that society is these days, in America especially, it's like the women want everything from the man and they're not willing to give anything in return. They want chivalry, but they're not willing to reciprocate with, being in their feminine energy. It's really tough in this day and age, especially in Las Vegas, trying to date. It's crazy.
Do you believe in 50-50 relationships or traditional roles, and why?
It depends. So me personally, I go for 50-50 because I love to work and I love to provide. But if a traditional, like where the man provides, works, then that's good for you.
How can relationships ever be 50-50 when the man's expected to sacrifice himself for the woman and serve her with chivalry?
That's a great question. I mean, it can be reciprocated.
It can go both ways. Like the man can sacrifice while the woman is also sacrificed. So 50-50 can be the man sacrifices himself with chivalry, respect, and all that. And the woman is at home cooking, cleaning, taking care of the housely duties. That in itself is 50-50.
Why will men sacrifice their personal happiness for their family, while women will sacrifice their family for their personal happiness?
Ooh, that's a good one. So you can't just paint a picture of it because it's different for every woman. I would say women are expected to, literally give up everything. So it's okay, I would say, for a woman to choose herself for once, when in history, she's always chose her family first.
I'd say that's just the way that society has etched it out at this point. Feminism has kind of corrupted the whole thought of sacrificing for your family. Feminists are kind of taking over, and it seems like they're mostly out here for themselves.
If a father of two kids sees a random woman attacked in public, should he intervene and protect that random woman?
Ooh, I would say yes.
Well, if men are supposed to be protectors, why shouldn't they protect their own family first? Why should that man risk his life, potentially leaving his own kids without a father?
You got me there. It goes back to biblical. I feel like if he stands firm on what he believes in and helps, I think his family will be safe.
Should all men be held to biblical standards when not all men follow the Bible?
My belief, yes. But honestly, you can't be held to a standard that you don't understand or you don't have knowledge about.
So I would say a perfect example of this is like the man who was out with his girlfriend and she got jumped and he was defending his girlfriend and stuff like that. I believe that if you see danger, you should be willing to be the one to step in. Like even me personally, if I saw that, I would be willing to step in and protect those people.
Now, continuing on that point, why should men be sent to war to fight someone else's battle?
Women are sent to war to fight someone else's battle as well.
But aren't men required to register for selective service, but not women?
That is true. Yes, they are. But that's just, again, if you want to go back to traditional roles, I mean, who set that system up? Men did.
They set this system up. Men set up the system to be empowered, to be in dirty positions, to separate gender roles. And I think that they should allow the fluidity of everybody entering in every role and every possibility that men think that they have to be part of.
Should men be willing to go to war and die for a country that seems to hate them?
Are we talking about all men or black men?
If men are more valued in society, why would they be the first ones sacrificed in war?
Probably because there'd be no chance of winning that war if we sent women to it.
Because they're the ones that set up that value in the society. The only reason that men are quote unquote more valued in society is because they set up that system so that women and anybody that's not a white cis man is valued more. So they should be the first to go to war and be sacrificed.
Why would women appreciate the sacrifices men make when men are required to make those sacrifices to qualify as a man?
I think that it's preached throughout social media that women should just want more, more, and more. And that intrinsically is going to translate into them not appreciating when a man actually does something for them.
I think that men should take the bulk of responsibilities. It is their position in life. They're born into a world that is designed for them to be successful. If anybody has the best chance of being successful, it would be a man.
So why aren't men the ones placed on a pedestal and entitled to go first instead of women?
Because men are a dime a dozen.
I mean, they could. In this new generation, we got a lot of guys that want to. I wouldn't be interested in one of those men in particular. But again, that's just my personal preference.
What do women provide that justifies a man risking his life?
Well, it used to be feminine energy, the ability to reproduce, and being a homemaker that takes care of everything aside from a man going out and providing and protecting.
Even if women did cook and clean, which they already do for themselves anyway, why would that be a fair trade for the sacrifices that men are expected to make?
Well, again, assuming that like you have traditional gender roles, the cooking and the cleaning, a man has to do that for himself as well. So why would the expectation be that a woman would have to do that in exchange for anything? If I have to go to work and take care of myself and provide for myself once I get a mate, I don't feel like that role ends. I personally don't like being dependent on anybody for my sole everything. Like, I think there should be a partnership. And if men want the respect, which is what I hear most men say, they want to be the king, I want to be the head, then you should take a bulk of the responsibilities if that is how you feel.
Because I think that's what men want. Men want somebody that's going to take care of them in the home, and I think women want somebody that's going to protect and provide for them traditionally.
If you expect the traditional role, and you're, out providing, making money, bringing home the bacon, why wouldn't you expect your woman to, be at home taking care of the house? I would say that's a completely fair trade because that's an additional job taken off your shoulders.
Do Christians believe that men should be like Jesus, sacrificial, while women should be like the Virgin Mary?
I do. I am very religious, and I do believe that they should be that way.
Why is there more religious pressure on men to be sacrificed than there's religious pressure on women to be virgins?
Honestly, I feel like that answer is answered depending on what culture you were born in and what religion you believe in.
If you look at the Bible, it's like women being virgins and like men sacrificing. It's like men aren't expected to sacrifice that much versus if you look like in other countries, like women are expected to cover up and stuff like that. Like men don't have that same expectation.
If religion is a choice, why isn't dying in war also a choice?
I think that's because that's been the standard set for us for years.
Because of the draft, because of government stipulations on who has to go to war and who not. I mean, there hasn't been a draft for a while, but I could see that happening at some point.
Does history justify an injustice that's been taking place?
It plays a part.
Well, why defend the injustice of male sacrifice just because it's happened in the past?
Ooh, you got me. I don't have a response for that one.
In a country of religious freedom, why should someone's beliefs be forced onto others?
I don't believe anybody's beliefs are forced on anybody. We are in Sin City right now. Like, if this is a Christian nation, this would be like Sodom and Gomorrah and burnt down, but that isn't how things are.
The short answer is they shouldn't. Some people are weak-minded and they will be swayed in whatever direction somebody is telling them that they should be, but I'm not that guy.
Religious people and like I'm not religious, so I kind of feel strongly about that. Religious people always try to impose their views like that. Like if you just look in America today, like they're always trying to impose religion in our laws when not everyone follows Christianity.
What are your thoughts on the following expression? Sperm is cheap, eggs are expensive.
I think that's disgusting. I don't think we should be putting a price on our bodies.
Sperm's cheap because you can easily there's a lot of men willing to give that up, and I feel like it's not hard to go find a sperm donor versus the egg donor. I feel like would be a little bit more.
Well, I've never been to a sperm bank, so I don't know how expensive sperm is, but I have followed stories of women who do IVF, and from what I've heard, it's incredibly expensive.
I think it's bullshit because, just any man's sperm is maybe not valuable, but at the same time, any woman's egg isn't valuable. It's like there's genetics, there's quality of character, there's other factors that go into the value of each gender, each specific person's reproductive whatever it is, juices, I don't know.
Why are women seen as more valuable based on the idea of repopulating a society when they're restricted to one man, one woman through God's marital arrangement?
Because at the end of the day, there's always going to be some man that's willing to impregnate a woman, but there's not always going to be a woman that's ready to bear the children of any man. I'm not sure.
How can men and women have equal value as human beings if men are disposable?
I feel like the only way to be equal is to both sacrifice the same things.
Why should biology or religion dictate a man's gender role any more than a woman's role?
I don't think that they do, really. Well, no, I take that back. Men are stronger than women, and that is natural by design. I believe that women are more innately nurturing, but having those dominant qualities, I don't think is a prerequisite for you being thrust into some type of American set gender role.
Why do we typically save women and children first in an emergency situation?
Because they're the weaker gender of the human species, and basically, traditionally, men are protectors and providers, and that is an act of that role.
How is being physically stronger going to help men survive when they sink on the Titanic?
Well, for one, they have greater endurance. So if Rose couldn't hold him on the door, maybe he could have swam, to a lifeboat that was a little bit further. But I think that's a dramatization. The reality is that I think men have a greater chance of survival because they are stronger.
I think it's kind of like a societal norm that men are physically stronger, so that's their gender role is to be.
But I mean, on the Titanic, being physically stronger didn't make a difference. They just were sacrificed because you're a man and you're disposable. So what does physical strength have to do with disposability?
I'm not sure it's so much physical strength. I think that in that day and age, women were valued more as being the gender that can reproduce, and children being innocent, and basically men are sacrificial. Like they're a dime a dozen.
Why does our society base human value on reproductive potential? Doesn't that violate a woman's consent to having kids in the first place?
I mean, yeah, I think as a whole, we base our society way too much on reproductive potential. I mean, me personally, I choose to be child-free, and I really value a woman's choice in that.
I think it does violate their consent, but at the same time, subconsciously, we're all wired to continue the human race, and we're all wired to enjoy sex, and that's what results in the human race continuing.
A lot of people believe all women should be only on this earth to procreate and be a wife and be taking care of their families, and that's just not how it is. Let every woman decide what is best for their life, their families, if they choose to have one.
Aren't we assigning women more value based on something women don't want to do? In other words, wouldn't the record low birth rate show that women don't want to reproduce?
No, I think women's lessened desire to reproduce has more to do with the fact that we're expected to reproduce and work full-time jobs and cook and clean, and women have discovered that it's not all it's cracked up to be.
If we judge human value based on reproductive value, why won't women become disposable when they hit the wall and experience menopause?
Because they still have value as humans, as souls, as homemakers, as intellectuals, as caretakers, and other things that women are good at.
But why would they have more value than a man?
I would argue that they don't have more value than a man. I think that the value of whatever menopause age 60-year-old woman and a 60-year-old man is roughly the same.
But won't we still save the woman first over an elderly woman over an elderly man?
That's true. Again, I think that goes back to chivalry, gender roles, and the fact that a man is supposed to be the protector and provider till the end.
Why don't we acknowledge historically that if women had it bad, men usually had it worse? Weren't men also oppressed?
Because that is a lie. It's not true. We weren't even allowed to vote until, what is it, like 1920, maybe 1940? There's no way that men had it worse. We weren't even allowed to have a voice.
Yeah, I think men have been oppressed quite a bit over throughout history. I mean, we are the sacrificial lamb of the human species. So, yeah, we have been oppressed at the hands of rulers, governments, and yeah.
Didn't men have harsher tasks placed upon them? Weren't men sacrificed under more hazardous conditions?
I think that both tasks, the tasks assigned to men and the tasks assigned to women, often are the same difficulty, but just in different ways. Like, as a man, I don't want to go to war and I don't want to fight someone in the street to protect people, to protect my woman or whatever. But at the same time, as a woman, I don't think going through childbirth and a menstrual cycle is easy by any stretch.
Does history justify an injustice that's been taking place?
Does history justify an injustice that's been taking place? Like, I'm going to go no. Slavery still isn't justified, and the history in this country is still oppressive to black people. So,
Well, why do we defend the injustice of male sacrifice just because it's happened in the past?
I think because society views men as a dime a dozen and disposable.
And finally, why shouldn't the people who believe in male sacrifice be the first ones to be sacrificed?
Because men are the biggest pawns in the game in society. And if you're a man with power and you're the one who's suggesting the sacrifice of other men, clearly you're not a pawn and you're higher up on the hierarchy of man.
I don't think our society does require the sacrifice of men. I think that's what makes some men stand out above the rest is their willingness to do it without feeling like they need a pat on the back for it.
Why are we always talking about the oppression of women if men have oppressed men more than they've ever oppressed women?
Because women are more vocal about it. Women are more upset about it. Whereas traditionally, like I said, men are just the pawns in the game of society. And we've kind of accepted that. I mean, throughout the years, throughout wars, throughout work, men do all the hard jobs. Men's lives are sacrificed in war. And growing up knowing all that, it's just subconscious in the male brain.